Hey, what's up, Atlanta Fringe? I'm here today at Do You Validate Studio with Brian Bannon of Sob Sax, whose show The Elements of Euclid is going to be playing during the Atlanta Fringe Festival this weekend.
Right.
Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the audience is in for when they sit down for your show?
The Elements of Euclid is a love triangle set on Euclid Avenue in Little 5 Points. It's about a photographer named Amy, a writer named Bobby, and a musician named Cal. They all meet cute at the Variety Playhouse while in line, and then they interact all throughout Euclid Avenue. They have dates and interactions at Elmire, the Euclid Avenue Yacht Club, 7 Stages, and other points along the line. It's based on The Elements of Euclid by Euclid.
Oh, wow.
The ancient Greek mathematical text. This was the inspiration, an outline for all the scenes. And Euclid narrates.
Oh, fantastic. Tell us what you think people are going to get out of this experience of sitting down for this show as well.
Well, if you like Little 5 Points, if you like the bohemian spirit, and if you're interested in geometry, there is some geometry in it.
Okay.
But it's the contrast between geometry, which is so logical, and Euclid Avenue and Little 5 Points, which is so irrational.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The compulsion some people have to make art that doesn't always make sense except intuitively. So that contrast between reason and intuition, math and art, was what interested me. I mean, Euclid Avenue is named for a mathematician, and not a lot of people do math on it.
No.
They do art instead.
Yeah. So what have you found about the intersection between math and art?
Well, Euclid's Elements has been very inspirational. This edition, the Burns edition, with all these colors.
Yeah.
And lines and shapes to try and make it more understandable. This was an Oliver Burns edition made in the 1840s. That inspired different art movements, De Stijl and others. So people like the purity of line and color and shape. And I look for triangles all throughout Euclid Avenue. It ends on Edgewood Avenue, it creates a triangle there. It ends on Oakdale, it creates a triangle there. There's, of course, Little 5 Points itself, where these 5 points meet, and there's angles and triangles there. So the shapes are fun to look at.
Yeah, and that informs the story as it unfolds as well?
The book chapters are inspired. Yes, there's a chapter on circles.
Yeah.
And all of them making circles. The musician making swirls on a drum. The photographer does panoramas. That's her art, is panoramic photos. Kind of like Panoramic Ray, the former Cabbagetown photographer. And then the writer writes on a circular table. So, yeah, different inspirations. There's elementary number theory is a chapter of the book, so that becomes a chapter. Proportions, how the 5 senses apply to each of them, that's another chapter.
Oh, fantastic. It sounds like we're already sort of hearing this as you talk about the book as an inspiration, but what sort of have you learned as this show has grown?
This is my 3rd Fringe Festival show.
Yeah.
And it's more ambitious than the others because I have a cast in it.
Okay.
It's not just me, and it's not just my friend. There's actors and a director.
Yeah.
So for me, learning blocking has been a challenge.
Yeah.
And we've tried to add projections. I mean, there is images of Little 5 Points throughout. So coordinating those has been difficult. And there are some sound cues. So having it all as a piece of theater rather than just a guy talking has been a real challenge.
As you've done at the Atlanta Fringe in the past, Atlanta geography and history has been an important element in your shows. I'll say personally that your Krog Street show is one of my favorite shows I've seen at the Atlanta Fringe.
It was 2013.
2013, wow, okay, feels like yesterday. But this is sort of a follow-up, or at least a spiritual sequel, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, they're both, I'm on the autism spectrum, and I think in pictures, and I'm drawn to places that I go back to over and over again and see different subtleties and different details. And the Krog show was Bill Taft and I going back there every month doing a show, and then the Fringe show was highlights of that. And this is a show about Euclid Avenue and going back and forth there. I've lived along it for 20 years.
Wow.
So going to the Star Bar, going to the Yacht Club, going to 7 Stages, doing theater at 7 Stages. So seeing it change over time. There is an age difference between the artists. Bobby is in his 40s, Amy's in her 30s, Cal is in her 20s. So that spectrum is a time is a spectrum, is an element. And it's set 10 years ago when I first wrote a version of it.
Oh, okay.
So it's before cell phones became ubiquitous.
Yeah.
Amy feels threatened by cell phone photography. Rightly so.
Yeah. What's something that has really drawn you back to the festival scene over and over again? You've done Atlanta Fringe 3 times.
Well, it's on Euclid Avenue, and I can walk to it. And it's a chance to see a lot of different theater. Now, when you're in a show, you don't always get to see as many as you'd like.
Sure.
But it's fun to see the variety, and it's the bohemian spirit of Little 5 Point. Let's put on a show.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, can you tell the people coming to Atlanta Fringe where and when they can see you?
We are on the Seven Stages main stage, Thursday night at 10 p.m., Saturday at 2:30 and 8:30, and then Sunday at 4.
Well, everybody come see Brian Bannon and the Elements of Euclid at the Atlanta Fringe Festival. Brian, thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks.
Yeah.